Who was your favorite childhood celebrity crush?
Oh, my favorite childhood celebrity crush.
This is when it kind of dates us probably too.
Yeah. John Taylor from Duran Duran.
Okay.
How about you?
Well, it's embarrassing to say now, but it was definitely Kirk Cameron.
Oh, sure. I'm trying to think of like Jake Ryan from 16
Of
Candles.
course.
He turns 65 this year.
Stop it. Stop it. 65. Oh. See, I knew it was going to start dating us. Lizzie just said hers was Leonardo DiCaprio in Titanic.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to the Empty Nest Happy Hour podcast, where it's always happy hour because the nest is empty.
Relax your shoulders, loosen your grip, pour yourself a drink. It's time for the Empty Nest Happy Hour, a hilarious weekly podcast exploring midlife, parenting, empty nesting, women's rights, pop culture, whatever we can think of to talk about. We're going to talk about it here. You know, you don't have to be a middle-aged empty nester lady like us to join this happy hour. Whoever you are and whatever's happening in your life, thank you for being part of our community and taking a little break to laugh through it with us. And as always, everything we say here is our truth now. We're not experts on anything, but we have a lot to say about everything. Take it away, Danielle.
Okay, and you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Threads at Empty Nest Happy Hour, as well as our website, emptynesthappyhour.com, and our email is info@emptynesthappyhour.com. Really, we're just always at Empty Nest Happy Hour. Actually, we have just launched our YouTube channel also that just carries, we have no video, but it carries our episodes
Audio.
at the same in audio, and that way if you don't get it for some reason, you can listen to it on YouTube.
Fascinating.
Yeah, who
we are
knew?
so high tech.
We're trying.
All right. Well, like she said, she's Danielle, I'm Amy, and we are here drinking because it's been a day.
And it's still January for us, even though this is
that's
going to come
right.
out in February. It's
Yeah,
still,
it's still
January.
January.
The longest month I think I've had in a very, very long time. But
Yeah. So what are we drinking today?
well, Valentine's Day is coming up.
I mean, next week when we start drinking for real.
Valentine's Day is coming up, so I wanted to choose a Valentine's Day themed cocktail to get us all in the mood, whatever that mood might be. Maybe it's a mood to go to bed. Maybe it's a mood to hang out with friends. Maybe it's other moods that you're looking to be in. It is called a Very Sexy Martini.
Oh, wow.
Which you muddle together 3 raspberries, 5 mint leaves, and an ounce of simple syrup. And then to that, you add in an ounce and a half of citrus vodka, an ounce of lime juice, and then you shake that up and strain it once it's chilled. And then you top it with rosé sparkling champagne.
Interesting. That sounds yummy.
So, and then garnish it with, if you want to, a mint leaf and a raspberry. But if you have a really sweet rosé champagne,
Don't use
the simple syrup. Otherwise, it's going to be way too sweet. So look for the dry champagne. It's better anyways. But yeah, it's rosé and it's got a really pretty pink color. And you put it in a coupe glass and it's just really pretty. And it's very sexy martini.
Very sexy. All
yeah.
right.
So Valentine's Day is around the corner.
Yes, it is.
Which in our household, Valentine's Day equals Murphy's birthday. So there's lot of...
That's right.
Yeah. We know a lot of Valentine's Day birthdays, not just Murphy's. So
That's true. We have a good friend who is Valentine's Day birthday. Happy birthday. So do you exchange Valentines with your husband for Valentine's Day?
No, we barely do Christmas presents.
Yeah.
No, we just have... That's just... He said he gave me the ultimate Valentine's Day gift by a child, right?
Yeah.
And I said, well, I think I gave you
did the work.
The Valentine's Day gift. I think I should get more, but that's not the way it goes.
Joe gave me a card that he borrowed from a secretary with $1 in it once for Valentine's Day.
Honestly, that's kind of funny.
It's very Joe. Very on brand. So
that's funny.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about Valentine's Day because we have a few weeks. Yeah. Okay, so I had an annoying day And so Danielle is driving this ship today.
I'm going to drive this ship. Well, we've got a couple of discussions that I'm hoping that we go down. One is a little bit, I don't want to say intense, but really as part of the news. And it's kind of stemming from a book that I read. Over the weekend, I finished Anxious Generation by, I'm going to pull his, by Jonathan Haidt. Sorry, I have my notes here, but then I'm looking 100 different places. And I thought we could talk a little bit about phones and devices and addictions to devices. And there's another book that's coming out by Chris Hayes, who is an MSNBC host.
Who I think looks like a Muppet.
I could see that. Well, he's a well-groomed Muppet.
Yep.
But he talks a lot about this kind of intense time that we're in with devices. In fact, he was just on NPR's Morning Edition yesterday, which would be January 27th. And Steven Skip, the host of Morning Edition, kicked off that interview and said to Chris, you say this is not the information age, it's actually the attention age. And that is kind of the crux of what I thought we could have this discussion be, because this is not new for anybody. So you've had a day, but I feel like you can jump right into this. So let me set the stage a little bit with some stats that I pulled. Okay. So in my preparation, I was like, how do we really think, how can I make this a discussion that really captures what the reality is on screens? And then we can talk about ourselves and then, meander after that. So the average individual, according to Comparatech, which is a pro-consumer website that helps readers become more cyber secure and cyber aware. They did research, and the average individual spends 6 hours and 40 minutes on a device daily across the globe. In the US, the average is 7 hours and 3 minutes. The UK averages 6 hours and 2 minutes, and Japan averages 3 hours and 56 minutes. So then I was like, okay, so the US is not great. We're not the worst. I think South Africa was the worst at 9 hours. Then I asked, I went on that same, no, I'm sorry. Then I looked at the CDC, which went through the different ages and the average daily usage. Ages 8 to 10 spend 6 hours on devices daily. 11 to 14-year-olds are 9 hours. 15 to 18-year-olds are 7.5 hours. It's probably because they have more homework and they are in more extracurricular activities in high school. 18 to 34 is 8 hours or 8.8 hours. So they kind of skipped over Gen X.
Of course, because we forget Gen X.
Of course.
Right.
And then 65 plus is 5.2 hours daily. That's a lot of screen time.
Yes, it is.
So
especially those 9 and 10-year-olds.
8, right.
That's like, or however that was, 9 hours. That's like,
yes,
all the time they're awake.
11 to 14. So that's middle school.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
9 hours. Right. That's like, that's right. So I don't want to get too much into the book until we need to, because they had a lot of suggestions on what we could do. And I think we've thought about it before. But I thought that you and I could, if you're comfortable with it, share what our average hours are.
I just looked at mine, and I'm proud to say my daily average is down 32% from last week at 3 hours and 38 minutes.
Holy cow.
I've been very busy. I've been too busy to spend a lot of time on my phone.
I'm impressed. I usually average around between 5.5 to 6 hours.
That's what
daily.
My general average is, I would say. But yeah.
So then I was like, books, because I listen to books.
Yeah.
That counts. When I get ready in the morning, I have my AirPods in and I'm watching the news on my phone. That counts. And then I was like, no, you're still on the device way too much. So I'm trying to justify it. Right. But I listen to books, so it's okay. No. It's still like you've got something that's occupying your mind at every second of the day.
Yeah.
So I guess, is it good? Is it bad? How do we think about like when I think about it, I don't feel like I am missing out. But when I look at the time and think about it, probably. But in
Yeah.
my daily usage, I don't feel that way.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have a hard time figuring out where things are supposed to be here.
Right. And what's healthy and what's right. And because it's interesting, we are not a generation that grew up with phones. So this is all like this has all happened since we've been in our 20s.
Right. Yes.
Late
20s.
20s. Yeah. So we were full grown adults by the time that
definitely.
we started using phones. And so we have some, agency. We've made the decision that this is how we're going to live our lives.
Right.
It's those 11 to 14-year-olds that have never not, they may not have had phones, but they had their parents' phones, or they had their iPads or whatever.
Right.
And like they didn't make that decision.
That's right. 6-year-olds, 3-year-olds
Right.
are sitting with iPads in front of them.
Right.
And you could argue that we had television,
Right.
but it's not the same addiction that algorithms are feeding us.
And it wasn't as mobile.
Correct.
The thing that drives me crazy, and I totally understand it because my kids did this too. In fact, they reminded me this the other night, that when kids are out at a restaurant and their parents just prop the iPad up in front of them.
That's exactly what I was thinking of.
And when I was a kid, you went out to a restaurant with your parents and you sat and you had a conversation.
Right. And you
Or-
learned how to
Yes,
sit.
you learned how to behave in a restaurant,
Yeah.
or you brought your book along and you sat quietly and read your book.
Yeah.
Right. But the kids, and my kids reminded me, we would take them to dinner at the country club and they would all bring their iPads and they would go off to another place, but they would all play on their iPads together.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit of a community thing happening at least. And they were, being social together. It wasn't just that everybody went off in their own corner. And our kids aren't young enough that when we went to dinner, we would put the iPad in front of them while
Right.
they were eating or whatever. I understand it.
I do too.
I
I'm
understand.
not, right. There's no blame here at all.
No.
I think it's just hitting a crescendo right now
Yeah.
because we're seeing, that the book just talked about all of the statistics, the depression, the anxiety, all of the issues that these kids had because they had social media during puberty.
Right. And there was, yes, as such an important part of
Yep.
their development. I just saw, I don't know if it was a tweet or it was something, but and I'm pretty sure it was the woman who tweets out every week her father goes out with his friends to drink on Fridays.
Yes.
And they put together a list of what they're going to talk about.
Oh my goodness.
But
yes.
I'm pretty sure it was her. She tweeted, I think, it's so funny that my fight or flight, what is that called? Your fight or flight response
Yep.
doesn't know if I'm being chased by a tiger or looking at a text.
That's a good point, right? You don't know what is going to come through your phone at any given time.
Right. And so your body reacts in a way to what you're seeing on your phone in a way that is the same as if something really dangerous or important was happening. And that, I will tell you that for my own self-preservation, part of the reason my numbers are so low this week is because I have not been picking up my phone to see what's going on in the world because I know it would make me crazy.
Right. Right. And turning off push notifications.
Yes.
That trigger that fight or flight.
Yes.
And all of the different things that are there. So there's one point, I see this a lot. I think Simon Sinek did a talk on this, and he asked to borrow someone's phone. He was on stage and he said, "Can I just hold your phone for a second?"
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "So now my phone, if it sits on a table, is more important than who I'm sitting across from because I might have to look at it, or my watch will buzz. So I've got to look at that, even if it's for a second, but your attention gets pulled away from the person that you are actually interacting with. And then the conversation switches no
Right.
matter what.
Right.
I am definitely guilty of it. It's
Yeah.
part of the reason why I stopped wearing my Apple Watch.
Yeah, I know.
But you definitely know, right? And sometimes I'm better at it and sometimes I'm not. I think with our kids being older, I don't have that fear that they need me right away.
Right.
But we used to call restaurants if we needed our parents.
Oh, yeah.
And the hostess or host would
Yeah.
come and get our parents and say,
Yeah.
there's a phone call for you.
Yeah.
So it means unless the house is burning down, which is a
Right.
terrible thing to say given the
Right.
California wildfire, sorry about
Right.
that, you're not calling.
Right.
And that you can't just say, what's the password to the Disney Channel?
Yes, we get that all the time.
Uh-huh.
Or I just switched the password and can you give me the numbers?
Yes.
Yeah, it's really it's so hard to, especially for those of us who have kids that are out in the world doing things, to navigate I need to have my phone in case they need to get me, but I also need to set boundaries with my phone so that I'm not on my phone, checking my phone constantly to see
Right.
if they need me.
Right.
Or what else
Exactly.
is going on in the world. I don't know. It's hard. Phones are hard.
They are very hard. And, the amount of arguments that parents, including myself,
Oh, yeah.
during COVID, I just had this conversation the other day with Murphy. She was in 8th grade when they when we went into lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
And the kids just were up all night
On their phones.
on their phones.
Yeah.
But I had a rule in our house that phones had to be turned in downstairs
Mm-hmm.
and until I think they were seniors in high school. And they hated
Yeah.
it. I was the meanest,
Yeah.
strictest mother. And I was. I absolutely was.
Yeah.
And they will probably be in therapy for that. But I also know that if especially Murphy doesn't get her sleep, then
Yeah.
she really has all kinds of other mental health issues that come up the next day.
Right.
And so you have to balance all of these things and see what's best. And so I don't know if there's a perfect balance. I try to not, like, my phone is next to my bed, but I don't use it. But when the kids went back to school, when Murphy did, then I kept my ringer on in case she needed to get me in the middle of the
Right.
night. But then I'm like, she's 18. She doesn't need to get me in the middle of the night. So
Right.
it's all very complicated.
Yeah.
And we're too accessible in our attention.
We are. We're just too. There are too many ways to communicate with us all the time.
Yeah.
And Joe and I were talking about this the other day. It may have been Martin Luther King Day, which was a Monday, which was, courthouse was closed, no mail, right?
Right.
And he said it was so quiet because he always goes into his office anyway. It was so quiet today. And I fully believe if I were the leader of a corporation or a large organization, I would say Thursdays, you don't send any emails.
It's not a bad.
Just one day a week. It can wait, whatever it is. If it can't wait, then you have to walk to that person's office and talk to them face to face, or you have to call them on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because emails, there are so many communications that come through email that you don't need.
No, oh my goodness, no.
And I noticed I shut the notifications for emails off on my Apple Watch because, like, I don't need to see when so-and-so responds, thank you, to the group
Right.
email about whatever.
Yes.
Yeah. So emails drive me crazy, but texts, and I feel like people, because they have their phones with them all the time, are even more like have made it an appropriate business way to communicate with people.
Oh yeah.
Like
Right. You're texting instead of actually
calling
being
or
professional.
right.
And that's maybe because of our age that it doesn't
Right.
feel professional. But
Right.
I don't want to get a text from my doctor
No.
that says,
No.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know the answer to any of it.
Yeah, but at the same time, like my personal email, I don't check my personal email very often. So if you're sending me a message there, you're going to get my attention if you send a text. You're not going to get my attention if you send
Right.
it to my email. So I don't know. Maybe we just don't need to communicate so much, which is completely counter to what we were talking about with
No.
loneliness. I don't know. And
Well, I think that is actually contributing to loneliness.
Yeah.
And kids, and the book was about kids. So I'm saying kids a lot, but I think it goes towards adults. it's quality over quantity. And right now, quantity is trumping quality. And so it feels like you're texting with friends. And it's great to get that when I say, if you're thinking about someone, just text them. That's very different than calling them up and having a relationship. And I need to take my own advice for a lot of different people and reasons.
So do you think there's ever a world in which, smoking used to be okay, and then people realize, wow, it's really unhealthy, it's bad for us, and so we need to regulate it? Do you think there's ever a world in which phone usage or Instagram or social media is regulated?
Honestly, it should be.
Yeah.
At least for minors.
Right.
At least until they're, I don't know the appropriate age. 18 probably. Until
Is that
they're
how old
full
you have to be to
adults.
smoke?
No, it's 21 now.
Is it?
Yep. Wow. But 18, you get to vote.
Right.
So, I guess I'm not a child psychologist, but you just look at the anxiety rates, the suicide rates, all of the different things that are actually scientifically and data proven with the start of, and it's with the start of devices and addiction to devices.
Yeah.
Whether that's video games, whether that's Instagram, whether any of that. I mean, Frances Haugen, who was the whistleblower for Facebook and or Instagram or Meta or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, she showed what they were doing with the introduction of like counts and shares. I mean, that's how everybody measures their success.
Right. And it's not any different from what the big tobacco did with nicotine and cigarettes.
Right.
I mean, it's not the physical manifestation of addiction, but it's harming mental health.
Yeah.
It really is. I don't know. It's not going to happen
anytime soon.
Right.
Right. And I think that it'll go slow. It'll start with like one school.
Yeah.
And then it'll start with a school district.
Yeah.
And then it'll start with a region. Right. And then it'll slowly, the schools will become what enforces a lot of the slowdown, is what I'm assuming.
Yeah.
That you have to put your phones away during the school day.
Well, my kids said, I asked them the other day, and they said that when they were in high school, I said, why don't individual teachers just say you cannot have your phone in the class? And they said some did.
Yeah.
They said, a lot of the reason why kids have their phones is because, God forbid, there's a shooting.
A school shooting, yeah.
Yeah, everybody wants to have their phones. They did say that part of it they thought was that it's also a classroom management thing. If that kid that's really disruptive has his phone, he's going to focus on that, and you won't have to worry about keeping him engaged or whatever, which is terrible. But I don't think that that's not an issue.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so, and he probably has issues because of the addiction to the device anyways.
Right. Well, I will tell you that I had unintentionally kind of set a goal for myself for this year, not a New Year's resolution by any means, but I'm trying to keep my phone, my email inboxes to no more than 5 unopened messages, and my texts to no more than 2 unread, which means I'm looking at my phone all the time, right? But it also means that I'm doing what I need to do and then being done.
Right.
Instead of, if you have 25 open emails or unopened emails, then you have to spend a lot of time going through all of that. I also have unsubscribed aggressively.
Yes.
Because I was getting just a lot of stuff that I just don't need to see to help my own mental health.
Yes. Right. And to stop me from, J. Crew's got a 50% off sale. I should go check that out.
Right. Exactly. Yes.
Okay. So I have another question about this, and this is more for our age group.
Okay.
So we talk a lot about, not we, but it seems like there was a long time that moms were not in photos.
Right.
Right? That we as moms, we're documenting vacations and field trips and
Yep.
all the things.
Yep.
And there's been a switch. Like, we want to be actually remembered that we were
Oh, yeah, I
part
was
of
there.
that and not just behind the lens.
Mhm.
Do you think that that's taken away from being present and the need to be Instagrammable, but also wanting to document? Do you think that's taken that in the moment away?
Not well, I can't speak for anybody but myself here because I'm not a person who my first instinct is to take a picture.
Yeah.
And so I don't think I have I'm also not a photo album person. I'm just like not that's not my thing. I'm kind of in the moment, and then after the fact I'm like, "Oh shoot, should have gotten a picture of that," right? But I will tell it when we were in Paris, as you know we were, we saw a lot of people who it didn't feel like they were actually in the moment. They were just there to get the photo.
Right.
Right. And so I know that in my case, very few of the pictures of my entire family together are not selfies that I've taken of the four of us.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like we have but I'm like taking photos or other. Yeah, it's just bad selfies. Like, hey, I'd like to make sure that you remember that I was here too. So let's take a selfie.
I'd like a family picture in front of the Eiffel Tower.
Right.
Something like that.
Right. Right.
I think that that's right. And I do think that yeah, I think that's right. I try to be really present. And I think that
Yeah.
I am for the most part.
Yeah.
Sometimes I am like, I wish I would have gotten that. And sometimes
Yes.
I'm a little bit like a little over the top with wanting to capture things.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, no, I think that I guess I would rather be kind of sad that I didn't get that picture than, oh, we had a really bad time there because I wasn't paying attention. I was just taking pictures.
right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we are just a little bit older than we have to photograph everything
I think you're right.
generation.
Yep.
So
We're above the experience capture.
yeah.
And we're more we just want to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
A little
Yeah.
bit different.
Yeah.
Okay, my last question for you, but it sounds like you're already doing that. You have any plans to cut down on your phone usage? You did it this week.
Yeah, sort of unintentionally, just because I was busy doing 100 other things. What the worst way I use my phone, and this is terrible. The worst way I use my phone is when and I think your book probably talks about this. I'm at my weakest point in the day. I have the least motivation to do anything. I should probably get up and do something, but I'm sitting on the couch watching television and I'm on my phone.
I'm thinking the same thing.
And I'm not getting anything from either of the
them.
things,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I could be talking to my husband. I could be reading a book. I could be on the treadmill. And I could be on the treadmill watching something on my iPad and on my phone.
Right.
But I just, and what happens is, and I know that this is not unique to me. Last night, I was watching was last night?
Last night was Monday.
Was Below Deck. I was watching Below Deck, but I was also looking at floor plans for houses on my phone.
Wow.
For about an hour and a half.
Okay.
Because I didn't start anyway. But like that was such a waste of my time.
Yeah.
Totally a waste of my time. I don't need to have a collection of 13
floor plans
that I would love to build one day, because that's not going to happen. And I just spent way too much time doing it. And what happens is you start and you can't quit.
Well, that's the thing. It's the addiction piece
Yeah.
of it. And all of these platforms know how to keep us, including games.
Yeah.
I have a terrible Candy Crush addiction, and I need to just stop.
Yeah, I don't do any games. The only phone game I ever did was the New York Times crossword and Wordle.
Yep.
And I haven't done those since November
Oh, that's good.
4th, I think.
And the reality is that takes like 10 minutes.
Right. But the problem is it takes 10 minutes to do that. But then the whole New York Times is there right in front of you.
Yeah.
And you spend another hour.
Yeah.
And I have all of the like screen time set up so that I only have an hour on things.
That's good.
It doesn't stop me.
You're
I
just
just
like,
put
oh,
my
I
code
guess
in and go, okay, yeah,
I'm
keep going.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. I don't know.
Well, Anyways, I'm going to try to cut back. I'm going to be realistic about this. I'm always going to listen to books when I'm working out in the morning, right? So I'm going to have at least an hour most days, but I would like to get my average time at least down to 4 hours, not 5.5 to 6.
Yeah. Well, and what's interesting is I looked at my pickups, 73 pickups today.
Oh, I didn't know you could do that.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm scared to look at mine.
Yeah.
Although because I've got my Mac, it all transfers to your computer at the same time.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not on social media or anything like that, but it's just, you can answer texts and Teams and all of the things that even our work is having us available at all times.
Right. And I would like a goal of mine is to have much less work on my phone. Like I really want to stop answering emails and doing all of that stuff, because the way my work works, my students are sending me emails at 9:00 on Sunday night.
Yeah.
And they're sending me emails, and I'm trying to make better boundaries with that. Like I work during the week. There's no reason why I should be working on Sunday afternoon or unless, it's planned that this is the way I'm going to work my week. But there, and I don't want students especially to get in the habit of like thinking that you're going to get a response at 9:00 on a Sunday night, because you're not.
And it makes sense that they're doing it because that's probably when they're working on their assignments. But you do not have to respond right away.
Right. And so I'm trying to set some boundaries there.
Yeah. Easier said than done sometimes,
absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Well, we hope that everyone listening to, if you're finding yourself with lots of hours, you're not alone.
With your AirPods in, listening to us on your phone.
Right, because podcasts, all of that counts as, and so that's where I'm like, is that bad? What is bad versus good? And that's a really difficult thing to determine.
Yeah, it's interesting because in some ways, my phone has taken the place of radio.
Yes.
Like I used to listen to the radio all the time. And now I listen to, well, you know this because your son does the same thing. I take my phone in the shower with me to listen to podcasts in the morning.
Right.
And so, and it's, it's on like all the time. I'm getting ready, but it's not any different from when I used to just listen to NPR on the radio in the morning.
Exactly.
So I don't know. I don't think we're going to solve this one, Danielle.
No, I don't think so either. But it's an interesting discussion. And I think the attention piece is the piece that we need to pay attention to.
Well, and I think the effect that it has on younger children is really, I mean, there's no hope for us at this point. But what can we do to help those kids be a little bit more healthy about it? And my kids were saying that they were, they got cell phones when they were in middle school. And that in many ways, they're kind of the first generation of kids who got them that young. And so we didn't know really how to manage it, and how maybe in the future, people will have a better understanding of the damage that it causes and be better about, putting some restrictions on it.
Yeah. And even within classes, I think if your kid's the only one that is not communicating, that kind of shuns them. But if you've got half of a class that is and the parents are, let's hold out, then they don't feel like the outcast. And there's so much pressure in that way. Yeah. And that's where parents are really stuck. And teacher, everything. It's just because there's no regulation and we're just getting into the actual effects of this.
Right.
It's going to continue to be a huge discussion. So.
Yep.
Yeah, fun. Okay, so I'm going to totally change directions. And we're going to be a little more silly because that was kind of a heavy topic. Okay. But one, I think we're going to, like I said, continue to hear about. And I will probably pick up that Chris Hayes book and let you know.
Yeah.
It's what it's all about. And it's called The Siren's Call if you're interested in that one. So you mentioned the the girl that her dad brings a list of questions and a list of things to
Uh-huh.
talk about with his friends. I just had lunch with a friend / colleague the other day, and we had the same.
Oh, yeah?
Because we don't see each other very
Yeah.
often. So we had lists that we were like, okay,
Oh,
I want
that's
to talk
so
about this
funny.
and this and this.
I love that.
So then I thought, okay, so we've challenged everybody to do 2 parties.
Mhm.
Well, there's all kinds of things you can do. And one of the things is you can have girlfriends over or couples and get to know people a little bit more with silly questions and interview questions.
Mhm.
So we're going to do that.
Oh, wow.
But they're
Okay.
fun and they're silly and they're meant to be lighthearted. So if
Okay.
it wasn't just you and me,
Okay.
we would pass around a hat or a jar or a bowl, and you would get to pull out a question and answer it.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Oh, that's fun.
Right? And so you get to know someone about things that you
Right.
didn't, and everybody gets to share.
Well, and it's interesting because, like, for us, and, so many people our age, we met each other when we were at a certain point in our lives. Like, we
Right.
met each other when we had just had kids or whatever. And so we don't know about, like, the rest of our lives before that. I have a bunch of friends that we met when our kids were little, and we had a party once where we all brought our wedding albums.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
What
And
a
it was
great idea.
fascinating because we
Ooh.
didn't know, we knew what we thought we knew about everybody. And it was really fun to look at everybody's wedding albums and see what kinds of weddings they had, if they had a balloon arch or they had,
Yes.
yeah. So that was really fun.
Ooh, maybe we should do, I don't know where my wedding album is.
You don't?
No, it got lost in our move from our other house. I mean, it's been missing for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
But I do have my wedding dress. We could have a wedding dress party.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I might be able to get into it again.
Well,
Might.
I have an interesting story about that.
Oh, please.
So my wedding dress was actually a bridesmaid's dress.
Okay.
It was a company that I loved the dress, and I got it at Marshall Fields, and they would not sell it in white, a single.
Oh, my.
It's a 2-piece. It's a beaded like pearl top and then a skirt. It's raw silk. It's beautiful. So classic. And so, but it was cheap because it was a bridesmaid's dress.
Right.
It was like $350.
Which is expensive for a bridesmaid dress, but not for
Not
a wedding
expensive for
dress.
a wedding dress, but Marshall Fields, the company, would not sell one
Wow.
dress in white or off white.
Yeah.
And so my mom said, well, let's just get 2. It's still going to be cheaper than, many of the other dresses you picked out. So we ordered 2, and you know how the wedding industrial complex, ugh. You have to be measured and it's made for your measurements or whatever. And they were like, well, you're a 6 on top and a 10 on the bottom or something. And I was like, okay, so order 6 and a 10. So my plan was, because my mother for years on her wedding anniversary would try on her dress
Oh, fun.
to
Because
show that it still
it still
fits,
fit. I bet it still
right?
fits her.
And my plan was,
Probably too big on her now.
well, I don't know. I'm always going to be fine because I have 2
Oh, yes, you do.
very different size dresses. I'll always fit into my wedding. And I don't know where either one of them are. They might be in the basement. I don't know.
How fun.
Yeah. So 2
Oh,
wedding
that's
dresses.
great. And you can, mix and match if you need to.
So if my daughters, God forbid, my daughters decide to have a double wedding and wear my dress,
You've got both of them.
they're covered.
Yeah, exactly. They both can wear the same thing. Oh my gosh, could you
That would be
imagine?
so awful. Ugh.
I can just hear Emma like, ew, Mom, no, I'm not doing that. Okay,
Okay.
so are you ready for some of these
Sure.
questions? What is the most ridiculous lie you believed when you were a kid?
Oh, wow.
Would you like to give you an example of what I was thinking?
Yes.
Like, will you grow a watermelon in your stomach if you
Oh,
swallow a
eat
seed?
seeds, yeah.
Something
or gum
silly like
stays in your stomach
yes,
for 7 years.
yes.
I can tell you one that I told my brother.
Please. Oh, yes.
I told him to. I'm not going to tell you. Well, I might. We'll see. The first one was, I convinced him that you could go to the bathroom for other people. So like if you were playing outside and you really needed to go to the bathroom, you could just say, hey, will you go to the bathroom for me? And then go in. And I don't know how he thought that would work, but I convinced him that that was a thing.
Oh, did he?
No.
I don't answer that.
No. And I'm not going to tell you the other one because it would have been scarring. I don't know how he.
Because we were,
It had to do with biological differences between boys and girls.
yeah.
And yeah.
We'll just leave it right there
Yeah.
because you were an older sibling.
Right.
And that's what we do. We
Right.
terrorize our younger
Yes.
siblings.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a good one. That's a good one. The gum was the one I was thinking
Yeah.
of too. I still am like, does it? No, I don't.
I don't know.
And I never swallowed gum anyways.
Oh,
but
I did.
yeah.
A lot.
No, of course it doesn't stay in your stomach.
No.
If
No.
if you chew it too long, it dissolves anyways. So
Yeah.
it's not going to stay in stomach acid.
Yeah.
So, anyways. What was the weirdest thing you ever got in trouble or grounded for?
One thing that I got in trouble for, this is very, very early when I was very young. I was messing around in the garage and there was a bag of potting soil. And for whatever reason, and this is an actual medical thing, people eat
Dirt.
Yes. Right? And I just looked at that bag of potting soil and thought, oh, that looks, I want to try that. I don't know what it was. And there's like a, it's like a vitamin deficiency or something that leads to, I don't think that's what this was. I think it was just like inquisitive, weird kid. And so I opened up the bag and ate a handful of potting soil, and I did not get in trouble for eating the potting soil. I got in trouble for opening the bag and making a mess in the garage.
Not the fact that you ingested fertilizer.
No, that wasn't it at all. It was there's potting soil all over the floor.
Right. And you left it open. Now it's all dry.
Right. Yep, that's what I got in trouble for. So
okay, you want to hear my crazy story? I had to have been just learning how to write.
Uh-huh.
And our moms, there's a group of moms that were, I can't even recall all the details. So this is how young I was and how fuzzy this was. They were talking, they were probably having coffee or tea, and my friends that were there, whose moms were there, were listening and spying, and they were telling me what to write down based on what they were saying. And so then I had to hide that piece of paper in my dresser drawer, and my parents found it. I didn't know what I was writing because I was concentrating on letters.
Right.
Apparently, what they heard was the neighbors were getting a dog for Christmas, and so the whole surprise was ruined. And so we all got in. I think I got grounded for that, and I was like, I didn't even know what I was writing. I didn't even know that's what it was.
I love that.
And
I
so,
love how like crafty little girls are and sneaky.
Right? And let's have Danielle do it
And
because she won't really get us in trouble because she doesn't know what she's doing.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. I love it.
So that was, I don't want to take too long on some of these, but who was your favorite childhood celebrity crush?
Oh, my favorite childhood celebrity crush.
This is when it kind of dates us probably too.
Yeah. Gosh, I don't know.
You didn't have Bop magazine pictures all over your walls?
No, I mean, yeah. Oh, okay. So it would have been John Taylor from Duran Duran.
Okay.
When I was in, I think it was 8th grade, maybe. My whole room was like Duran Duran posters everywhere. And we would always go on vacation for 2 weeks, and we always went to the same place. Oh, I guess by then, I don't know. Anyway, I took my Duran Duran posters with me.
Oh, well, that's nice.
And put them, and my brother and I shared the bedroom. And I put up all my posters because I was like, I'm not leaving John Taylor at home.
Well, and you wanted to feel like it was still your home.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So that, I guess that was my celebrity crush when I was in junior high.
Okay.
Yeah. How about you?
Well, it's embarrassing to say now, but it was definitely Kirk Cameron.
Oh, sure. When I was in college, there was a big rumor that Kirk Cameron was going to go to Drake, which is where I went. And then it never.
No.
Yeah. I think there was always that rumor at schools like, oh, so-and-so is going to come here. You
exactly. Whoever's really popular at the time.
Yeah. But
right. And now we have access to all of those people all the time. So we know what they're going to do. But that was a whole different thing. Kirk Cameron and Ralph Macchio.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Right. And they were so young.
Yeah.
So, yeah, those were my childhood celebrity crushes.
Yeah. I don't really. I mean, no. I'm trying to think of like Jake Ryan from 16 Candles.
Of course.
He turns 65 this year.
Stop it. Stop it. 65. Oh, See, I knew it was going to start dating us. Lizzie just said hers was Leonardo DiCaprio in Titanic.
Yeah. Oh,
See, right? It's funny. It
yeah.
dates us because it's such a specific point in time.
Yep.
Because your celebrity crushes are usually junior high-ish age.
Right.
And whatever that pop culture thing is at the time. How funny. Okay. How about the most embarrassing text or email fail that you've ever had?
Oh, wow. I did text the cleaning person all kinds of information about the podcast one day.
Oh, I remember that. That wasn't that long
it
ago.
wasn't. It was Alex, my hair guy.
Oh, okay,
I sent it
okay.
to which that's not embarrassing because he thinks I'm crazy, and so whatever. I don't know. I don't think I've had any really.
Good for you.
Yeah, have you had one that
I
was?
did.
What was it?
When I was the publicist for the university publishing house, I was talking about one of our authors, and I thought that I was sending it to somebody internally, and I accidentally sent it to him.
Ooh.
Thankfully, I just called him Grumpy.
Oh, that's good.
And
it
he did
batshit crazy
reply.
old
Yeah.
pervert.
Right. He replied and he was like, I am kind of grumpy.
Oh.
And I was like, oh my God. So that was when I started to really make sure that I reread every email that I sent because of that. Okay, I guess last one, because I don't want to go on too far with this because we've got a special surprise coming up. If you suddenly became famous, what completely random thing would you be known for? Like speed reading or parking or... That's a harder one.
Yeah. So I'm famous for this thing, or it's just like
a random thing that
I'm really good at.
Yeah, good at that nobody would know.
I don't know. What am I good at?
I think there's lots of things.
You know, these are all very hard for me because I'm such a not self-reflective person.
Right.
I just sort of go out into the world and whatever. I mean, I can whistle the guitar solo for pretty much any song released from 1980 to 1992.
That's actually quite impressive. I was going to say my lawnmower lines.
Oh, yeah. That is much more practical.
I don't know. But if you did not watch the SNL 3-hour special about the music guests.
I have not, but I will because I love Questlove did it.
Yes.
And anything that Questlove does. He was on Fresh Air with Terry Gross talking about that today. That man is a genius.
Yep.
And so he totally such a musician, and so respectful and celebrates music in such an amazing way. I love Questlove. And if you haven't watched Summer of Soul, oh my God, what a movie. That was the movie that he made about this concert series in New York in the 1969, 70. So good. Questlove is one of the geniuses of our time.
I absolutely agree with that. So can you whistle the Saturday Night Live theme? That was a question on the special.
Oh, shit. Really?
Nobody can do it because it's not a melody. It's just horns. And that's what they were talking about.
And then the outro at the very end is even more what even is this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same every time, but it's definitely. Anyways, it was a great
It's a lot of horns.
Yeah. And the whole it was long. It was a 3-hour special, but it was really the music scene and how Saturday Night Live introduced a lot of artists. And they covered a lot of the big ones that were the Sinead O'Connor.
Yeah. Well, and
Simpson.
Saturday Night Live is 50, so I'm 50, almost 55. And so we grew up together, because even though I was, in middle school before I ever watched Saturday Night Live, it was part of the cultural zeitgeist as I was growing up. And then even then, when you got to be middle school age, you could go back. I don't know how we saw old episodes of Saturday Night Live, but I remember seeing, I wasn't contemporaneous with Chevy Chase and stuff.
Right.
But I remember seeing all that stuff as I got older. I guess there were VHS. I don't know. But
maybe.
So
I wonder if they played it on MTV sometimes.
Yeah. And I can remember Saturday Night Live for sort of my generation, I think it is almost more important than for any other generation. The group that had it from the very beginning, like this is a new thing, there's all that. But we've had Saturday Night Live our entire lives.
Absolutely.
And I still watch it.
I do too.
And my kids are like, "Ugh," unless it's like Timothy Chalamet or, Zendaya is on, then they'll watch it. But they're like, it's lame, it's old. And I'm like, oh, well, it didn't used to be.
No.
It used to be very hip and cool to watch Saturday Night Live.
And it is a cultural snapshot.
Yes.
Week by week by
Yes.
week.
And there are some times that I don't want to watch it because I don't like what's going on in the culture.
Exactly.
And I haven't watched the Timothy Chalamet one from last week or the week before yet.
I haven't either.
But I will, because he's a good guy. He's cute.
He is. And he's definitely in our kids' celebrity ages.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And he's a good actor, and
Yeah.
he's done good stuff. So anyway, I guess if I were a teen now, my celebrity crush would be Timothy Chalamet.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I don't think
No.
I like him a little bit hunkier.
Hunkier than Timothy Chalamet.
Right.
Like a Hemsworth.
Yeah, maybe like a Travis Kelce. Oh, maybe that's
Oh.
just right now.
Yeah. No, I would definitely be more of a Timothy Chalamet.
I don't know who it would be.
Yeah.
I don't know. Not Timothy Chalamet.
Oh.
That's okay,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
We can appreciate
Different strokes
that.
for different folks.
Exactly. Speaking of Kirk Cameron. Okay, shall we move on to cheers to that?
Yes. What are we doing for cheers to that?
Well, do you have any cheers that or any rants or anything you just want to get off your chest this week?
I'm tired of the bureaucracy.
Well, we got a long way to go.
I had an annoying, just an annoying day that was it was just ridiculous and whatever, but
Yeah.
got through it. It's fine. It's all good now. So yeah.
Every workplace, every
Right.
institution, everything. Every
Cheers to the people
volunteer.
who do the work, who get it done, even if it annoys the shit out of them and you.
Well, congratulations on getting through today's day.
Thank you. We hope it all works out.
Yes, we do. Next week, we'll be popping champagne because I know how much you love champagne.
Oh, yeah.
Popping bourbon
Yeah.
with cheers.
Yep.
Okay, so we've got a little special cheers to that we're
Okay.
going to bring
Oh,
in a
yes, we
cameo.
do.
I'll set up the reason why we've got a little special cameo coming in. Last Thursday, my dog had to have an eye removed. He's 13. We thought we were going to have to put him down. It turns out his eye was just dying and he had really bad headaches. And he came through. And so we just removed the eye and he's doing great. He's actually doing better than he has probably in the past year. Although he likes to bark at us more than ever right now.
Oh,
but
really?
I think he's fine. We'll get him out of that. He just has a lot to say to us right now. So it's been kind of a joke. We've been sending memes back and forth with dogs with eye patches. And producer Aunt Lizzie, as a matter of fact, came up with a little poem because Bandit is her pal. And so Lizzie was going to come on and share a little story about Bandit.
So Bandit's my best pal. So I took a long time writing this poem. I put 3 prompts into ChatGPT, and this is what it came up with. One of them was Bandit becomes a pirate. There once was a Yorkie named Bandit so small, with fur like a storm cloud and a bark like a squall. But life dealt him blows, one cruel and unkind. For Bandit awoke to a world one-eyed. Yet Bandit the brave would not wallow or cry. He donned a bold patch, raised his head to the sky. A pirate I'll be, he declared with a cheer. A swashbuckling rogue without doubt or fear. No groomer's sharp scissors would dare near his mane, for Bandit adored his wild tangled domain. He snarled at the brush, he sneered at the comb. A pirate's dishevelment suited his home. His treasure, you see, was not gold or fine jewels, but turkey and pills, his 2 favorite tools. He'd gobble his feast with a pirate's delight, while dreaming of ships on a moonlight night. With his cone of shame, he'd roam the high seas, a fearless commander of mischief and breeze. His bark was a cannon, his yip a command. No sailor or squirrel could escape his demand. Though haggard and scruffy, one thing is for sure, Bandit's bold heart was steadfast and pure. For even with trials that left him one-eyed, he ruled as a pirate with joy as his guide. So here's to brave Bandit, the Yorkie so grand, who conquered his fate with a paw and a plan. May turkey and freedom forever be near. For Bandit the pirate, we give a loud cheer.
Yay, Bandit.
ChatGPT really went all out on that poem. A good long
Right. And there's so much. So he had to skip his grooming appointment because the groomer was like, I can't touch that iris before it was
Ew.
taken out. And he really looked like he had been on a 3-day bender. He was, we'll post a picture of it. He was so scraggly. And we have to give him his pills in turkey every day. So the fact that pulled that out, it's just, and the cone of shame, it's just so funny. It's so funny.
Cheers
That
to
was-
Bandit.
Cheers to Bandit. The 3 prompts from ChatGPT where he loves turkey and pills. He has not been groomed, and he has a cone of shame, and he's a pirate now. And it came up with this very moving tribute
Wow.
in about 2.5 seconds.
2.5 seconds, exactly. A whole poem. So
The whole poem, longer than I would ever write.
So
there you go.
Our ode to the one-eyed bandit.
Cheers to Bandit.
Okay. It's so silly. Poor little bandit. He was just a mess.
But he's doing much better now.
He's doing much, much better. Okay, should we do our Bravo winners and losers?
Bravo winners and losers. You want to go first? You want me to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to do my loser first because my winner is a loser and a winner. My loser is to Karen Huger of Potomac. All season, she has made these women give her a pledge of loyalty because they needed to stand by her and not question her DUI.
Right.
And then as soon as the footage from the police car and the police dash cam and all that was released, she just decided to not show up to
Well,
the
as
reunion.
soon as she was found guilty.
Guilty. Right?
Yes.
And she said, oh, it's all going to come out. I mean, the whole season was just based on this terrible
She was going to be
lie.
exonerated. Everybody needed to stop talking about it. It was just, yes. And then she's
not showing up to the reunion.
went to trial, was found guilty, and then said, oh, I can't come to the reunion. I'm going to rehab.
Which she just doesn't want to
Yeah.
answer. And any other housewife that doesn't show up to a reunion doesn't get asked back.
Yeah.
But does Potomac
I don't know.
survive without the
I
Grand
don't know.
Dame? I don't know.
I don't know.
It's not a great season this season.
No, it's not. It's not at all. It's just kind of off the rails a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
The Grand Dame, Karen Huger,
loser.
yes, not showing up is my loser. My winner, also sometimes a loser because she's a little annoying.
I was a little surprised to see this as a winner, but go
I know.
ahead.
There's a reason why.
Okay.
Is Bronwynn from Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. They just had the first episode of the reunion last week. And there was something in the reunion that she just, another of your favorite losers, Whitney said, I was always there for you, and you said that nobody ever showed up. And she looked at Whitney and she was like, you were absolutely right. You were always there, and you were always talking to me, and you were always part of that. And she took the criticism, and housewives do not do that very often. So for that, I was impressed. It was very small. I also think that she held Lisa Barlow's feet to the fire about the issue with her daughter's grandparents and father. And I am so glad she stood up for herself. So that was why I put her as a winner.
Let's talk about who my loser is.
Yeah.
As you know, my perpetual loser is Whitney Sudler-Smith of Southern Charm. He's 56, y'all. But my this week loser is Lisa Barlow from Real Housewives of Salt Lake City because one, she was all in the middle of Bronwynn's family shit and she didn't need to be there.
Correct.
And 2, she cannot ever see anybody else's side. She can never, ever understand that there are other people in the world who have different feelings than she has. And I mean, and she takes that to a whole other level. I mean, Kyle Richards from Real Housewives of Beverly Hills does that.
Yep.
But Lisa is, I don't even know how like people can stand being around her.
Right?
I just, and she, which is great for housewives. It's perfect character. She's, you know,
She's the ultimate villain.
right. But she's so unself-aware, and I'm unself-aware. I'm not a self-reflective, self-aware person, but she puts herself in situations where you're like, Lisa, what did you think was going to happen when you did that?
Exactly.
Right. And I wonder if the Bronwyn thing, her embracing Whitney, is kind of an FU to Lisa, because Whitney and Lisa were all in it.
Probably.
And you know, these housewives, they have to find their alliances and make up their teams and everything. So Lisa Barlow is my loser. If you watch any of these and you just watch the Salt Lake City reunion, she never stops talking, and she never stops talking about herself, and she never ever considers anybody else's perspective. It's kind of like amazing that somebody could be that.
Right? She never, all Bronwyn wanted was her to acknowledge and say, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that.
Right.
And
And she will
was
never do
never
that.
going to do it.
Never. No.
Because that would admit that she did something wrong, and she's never wrong.
Right. It's crazy. But I also have to say, I just want to shout out Meredith Marks for continuing to be so freaking weird. And that whole thing about her being so up in arms about, I don't even know who it was in somebody's, Jen Shaw's WAP video.
Oh my gosh. Angie.
What are we even talking about,
It was a
Meredith? This is
TikTok
not.
thing.
Yes.
I know.
She's just so out of it. Crazy.
She needs to be off that show. She's
I think
bringing
so, too.
nothing to the
Yeah,
storyline.
I agree.
And that weird furry halter top.
But you know what?
Confessional.
You know who her husband works for?
No.
Big Lots.
Oh, really?
Yes. And Big Lots is shutting everything down. His job, he was a buyer for Big Lots.
Oh, boy. Oh,
He-
yeah.
Yeah. So she's going to have to stay on the show.
Will she get asked back, though?
I don't know.
Interesting.
My winner of this week, and it's a short week this week. Like last week, we included the New York people. We're recording a little bit early this week because we have book club tomorrow night. But so we don't have the New York folks. But don't worry, we'll catch up with that.
Yeah.
My winner this week is Molly on Southern Charm and her little tuba.
Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh. I forgot about that.
When she made them all go to the concert, and they all sat there and they were generally well behaved at the concert. It was so sweet. And she was so like, I just love music. She was so emotional about it and so cute about it. And like, all of these people are trying so hard to be cool and hip and interesting and young. And she's like, I just want to play my tuba.
Yes.
I loved how genuine and authentic, and it was just really sweet. And I liked that.
You are absolutely right. She was the winner of the week.
Yeah. So Molly and her little tuba, which I think is actually a euphonium.
Oh, is that what? Okay. Because it was little.
And she called her mom and she's like, I have a solo and I kind of messed it up and I hope it goes okay. And I was like, oh, we've all been there. I mean, I haven't played a tuba solo, but I've, felt like, oh, I want to make sure it goes okay. So that was really cute.
Oh, yeah. It was a good one. That was a good
Yeah.
one. Okay. Well, I do want to say one last thing,
Yes.
just as a reminder.
Yep.
We are going to read Sandwich by Katherine Newman. We're going to have a book discussion on February 25th. Get the book, make sure you read it, and tune in for our book discussion.
It's so good. You will not regret the time that you spent reading it.
Right.
It's really good.
So that's coming up. And I think that is all for us for tonight.
I got a text from my cousin Katie as we were recording here, and she said that in this week's episode, I talk about how I can't take a compliment without telling my whole life story. And she said she's the same thing. It must be genetic.
Or maybe it's I don't know. I hear this sometimes. It's a Midwest thing also.
Oh, really?
Yes. that we can't take a compliment. We have to just share our whole life story. But I don't know if that's really true. I don't know if it's a woman thing. I don't know. But yeah, I'm the same way. I think you were like last week, oh, I love your skirt. And I was like, oh, I got it at Target. And you make sure, I don't know if they're still going to have it, but I got it at this price.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know why we share everything about everything.
Well, I think we're trying to be helpful.
Right. You want to have the people want the same thing.
Right. Right.
Maybe that's right. We're helpful.
We're trying to be helpful. So we'll just keep doing that. That's where we are.
Exactly.
All right. Well, I think we made it through. We did it. We talked about all the things that we wanted to talk about, and we hope that you enjoyed listening to us. And if you want us to talk about the things that you want to talk about, you can send us an email at info@emptynesthappyhour.com. Suggest topics. We will talk, we'll talk about it.
Yes, indeed.
It's not like we're going to hold anything back. So please go ahead, send us your emails, chat with us on Instagram or on Facebook, wherever you can find us, all the places. And we will respond to you. We promise.
Yep.
Text me while we're recording our episode and I'll respond in real time. So thanks again for joining us. Thanks to producer Aunt Lizzie, producer and poet.
And the poet.
Aunt Lizzie. Don't forget, you can contact us on all the socials and the email. We'd love to hear from you. And I guess subscribe, recommend, tell everybody how much you love listening to us. Oh, that reminds me. We set a challenge to get over 200 Instagram followers by February 1st. And as of this afternoon, we were at 376, I believe.
Fantastic.
And 376 followers on Instagram. We're over 3,000 on Facebook, aren't we?
Oh, yeah. We're like almost 3.5.
Yeah. So if you're following those places, you should also be listening to the podcast, right? So keep it up and tell your friends.
All right.
All right. We'll talk to you next week. Cheers.